Yeah, I mean, I've been making music since I was a kid. My dad was in country band while I was growing up, so I was kind of naturally exposed to music and harmonies and recording and things like that. He had a home studio, and I think that was the most influential thing because from a young age I wanted to learn how to record, and I had been writing poems, and I wanted to learn how to set them to music, so that was the first thing I did. And I had my dad teach me how to use like a little 8-track recorder, and from there I just loved the process of writing songs and making music, and I never really stopped doing it, but I never imagined that it would be something that I could do as a career, really, because I was so shy as a kid and I never really wanted to be up in front of people. Like, it was terrifying for me to even just present something in front of the class at school or talk in front of people, so I really just made music for fun and for myself until my early 20s, when friends started encouraging me to play shows, and they would hear me playing in the other room or something and want to hear the songs. And so I just started recording an actual album, but I wasn't really happy with it, so I kind of stepped away from music for a bit and was re-inspired in like 2009 on a tour with some performance artists, and then put out my first album, The Grime and the Glow, and kind of started taking it seriously then, and was like basically forcing myself to perform. And I used to wear a veil when I was playing because I just really wanted to be invisible, so it was like my childlike way of being invisible on stage but still being able to perform the songs. And yeah, it's just been like a long, slow build, kind of, because it's taken me such a long time to be comfortable as a live performer, and that's such a big part of being a musician, you know. My father was a musician, so in that way I was just kind of exposed to music from a young age, and I think both of my parents really loved music and showed me a lot of good music while I was growing up. Well, he taught me to record music, so that was kind of an important step in being able to, you know, put down the songs that I was writing. I didn't really play guitar when I was young. I just would mess around with the keyboard and piano and stuff. And then when I was older, I learned to play the guitar and started writing and using that as accompaniment. Mostly a lot of experimentation. I mean, that's really how I learned what kind of music I wanted to make, was making music that I knew that I didn't like. It's not like I did that on purpose, but, you know, like I said earlier, I made an album when I was in my early 20s, and it turned out, in my opinion, a little too personal, a little too much about my own life and about just breakups and silly things like that. So I really wanted to kind of step away from writing about myself and find new inspiration, and I did, and I found that I could write about just about anything, really, from watching the news to reading a book, watching a great film. And I just find inspiration in that, I guess. For me, it's all about the balance in a song. A lot of the content of my song and the lyrics is really heavy and kind of just about the reality of the world and the two sides to any story. So sometimes I like to balance that out with music that's a little softer, or a melody that's pretty or something, you know. I always like to have a little bit of light in a song and never get too dark. So yeah, it's just about contrast and balance, really, for me. But yeah, it's a challenge for me. I mean, being a performer was never something that came naturally to me, so it was something I had to work at, and it was something I wanted, for sure. But like I said, I used to wear a veil on stage when I was performing, and just wear like long sleeve, all black, just really try and disappear on stage. And eventually I met a stylist, a clothing stylist and costume designer named Jenny Hensler, and she really helped me with that, because she helped me to kind of find designers and different silhouettes and things that made me feel comfortable and confident, but I didn't have to be completely covered, you know, and I think that in that way sometimes clothing and fashion or whatever can be like armor for a performer, so I think of it like that. And also just really trying to let go of everything that's holding me back, and and I like that challenge. You know, I like trying to let go and really just be in the songs and remember why I wrote the songs and what they were about, and just be there with the audience, because I want everyone to have a real experience, and I want to have a real experience when I'm performing. So yeah, I mean, it's always shifting a little bit. When I lived in Northern California, there was a group of musicians that I started playing with for a while, and we made that album Apocalypsis together. But after that, I knew I wanted to leave my hometown and try something different. And so when I moved down to Southern California, a couple of the band members came with me, and then I met some new musicians, and so it's always shifting a little bit. But right now I have a pretty rad group of like 6 people that kind of interchange for each tour, depending on if I'm doing acoustic or electric or a combination of the two. Like right now I have my drummer Dylan and synth and bass player Ben, but I have the viola player Ezra Bukla with us for the first time on tour. Even though he's played on a couple of our records, he's never been on tour with us yet. So for me, it's really similar to the human voice, and I've especially been attracted to players like Ezra, who plays with us, who can really bring out emotion in the viola and make it sound like a human voice in a way, and it's almost like wailing, and it's really beautiful. Yeah, before Ben joined the band, I had a really traditional rock band, you know, 2 guitars, bass, and drums, and I really wanted to bring a sort of electronic element to the band. So we met on a tour. He was in a different band that we were touring with, and he was playing some synthesizers, and I was really into the way he was playing, and we found that we wrote music, electronic music, and just music in general really well together. So he joined the band after that.